The harsh truth is that metaverse investments are not a good fit for most investors. Good morning, it's Lauralee. It is the start of Q4 when I'm recording this, so I wanted to jump on and share with you my experience in investing in the metaverse for the last 5 years, what I've learned and what I'm looking for in 2022, and hopefully give you some insights or ideas on how you can take advantage of the next technological shift. That being said, I am not a financial advisor and this is not investment advice. This is just my experience and opinion. Now that that's out of the way, if you want to jump straight into what I'm looking at in 2022, you can jump to this point in the video. Okay, let's get into it. First, what is the metaverse? The metaverse is the blending of the real and the digital space. It includes augmented, mixed, and virtual reality. There's a lot more to it than this, but in short, the metaverse is the successor to mobile internet. Now, this iteration isn't going to be about going into a smaller computer, but going into a fully connected and immersive world or worlds. Adobe actually has a really great example of how seamlessly the metaverse could replace what we currently use our phones and computers for in this video. I'll include a few clips here, but I will link the entire thing down below. As you can see, the metaverse goes beyond just entertainment. It's where we work, it's where we practice medicine, collaborate with others, it's art, education, and learning, and then logistical things like navigation and very practical day-to-day tasks. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that what we're building over at Future Sight AR is a platform and authoring system so people can create all the procedures, how-tos, DIYs, and checklists that you use every day, but in a metaverse native format. Some of these are like super technical, like how to repair a fuel line on a fighter jet, but other things are just everyday things like how to make the perfect banana bread. When the technology is done properly, it's not even something that you would realize is there. And it's that intuitive behind the scenes type of technology where there is a lot of opportunity right now. Over the last 5 years, I have spoken to literally hundreds of venture capitalists, angel investors, and partners at private equity firms, and I've actually become an investor myself. I know several of you out there are in the investor community or are interested in investing in metaverse startups. And here's the thing, the harsh truth is that metaverse investments are not a good fit for most investors. Metaverse tech is pretty niche and the industry is still super early. Again, we're like internet 1996. And when I speak with investors, they want to see a typical return or an ROI in 5 years or less. And if you're new to this space, that means when an investor gives a startup money in exchange for equity or partial ownership in that company, they expect that that startup will either get acquired or have an IPO in about 5 years. Companies these days rarely IPO in 5 years, if at all. So really what they're expecting is for you to get acquired or bought within 5 years. And for most metaverse companies today, that is just not a practical expectation. Investors need to be in it for the long game, and just not every investor can do that. To add complexity to this, the startups that are going to add the most value to the metaverse and become the next unicorns are the ones building behind the scenes products. And those products are not always easy to understand. So those combined factors of having a long ROI period and the hot companies making products that are not easy to conceptualize makes the relationship between venture capital and the metaverse complicated, to say the least, and really only suitable for a very specific type of investor. Related to that, I wanted to talk about how the metaverse replaces traditional forms of tech. This will help give some context to the market opportunities I'm going to go over in a minute, so hang in there. I think a lot of people, including investors, expect that augmented and virtual reality is just going to completely replace current modalities overnight. Phones are just going to disappear all of a sudden, and everyone will be in a headset. Historically, this just doesn't happen. At first, new technology is additive, and then over time, it replaces those traditional forms. We saw this with audio. Originally, you could only listen to a radio show on a physical radio. But pretty early on in the history of the internet, you could listen to radio broadcasts online. This was still the same radio show that you would hear over the AM or FM channels. It was just added onto the internet as a way to consume it. Then over time, we started getting radio shows that were only available online. This turned into podcasts, and now we have an entire generation that only consumes long-form audio content via podcasts. It is a big shift, and it happened in little stages. It didn't happen overnight. Another more kind of current example of this is the Travis Scott concert that happened in Fortnite and the Lil Nas X concert that happened in Roblox. These artists aren't replacing traditional concerts. They're just adding these as a way to connect with their fans and a way for their fans to consume their music. Many of the habits we have today are going to transition like this little by little into virtual spaces. And as I mentioned before, it's not an all or one shift. It happens in little gradual steps. Okay, now we're getting to the exciting part. According to Bloomberg, the market opportunity for the metaverse is $800 billion by 2024. So if you, like the good people over at Bloomberg, see the value and opportunity in the metaverse, but you aren't a VC or you're not an accredited investor, how can you invest? Here's what I'm looking at for 2022, and it basically breaks down into 3 categories: indexes, stocks, and time. So first up is index funds, and I've only seen one index fund that specifically targets metaverse companies, and that is Roundhill Ball Metaverse Exchange Traded Fund, or ETF. The Roundhill Ball Metaverse Index is the first index globally designed to track the performance of the metaverse. The index consists of a tiered weighted portfolio of globally listed companies like Nvidia, Roblox, Cloudflare, Snap, which owns Snapchat, Unity 3D, Facebook, and Autodesk, all of whom are actively involved in building the metaverse. There's a lot more, that's just a few of them. You can find this ETF by searching Meta on your brokerage of choice and read up on it. Next are specific public companies involved in the metaverse that you can buy stocks in and who will be a leading player from a platform perspective. Public companies in this space that I'm keeping an eye on are Unity Technologies, Nvidia, Qualcomm, Broadcom, and basically any wireless tower company like Verizon. There are end consumer platforms out there, but the behind the scenes architecture companies that provide all the support to make the metaverse run are where the biggest opportunity is right now, in my opinion. This category also includes content companies, which I thought some of you might find interesting. So I personally will be keeping an eye on how streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, Disney, and Amazon adapt to generating content in immersive spaces, and I'm basically just gonna look for the ones that are doing it well. That Travis Scott concert I mentioned, it made $20 million from a virtual concert last year. Odds are that that's a pretty good indication that people will pay for other types of media in immersive spaces too. The 2 categories that I just mentioned deal with publicly traded companies, but they leave out all of the private companies and startups. And unless you are in the VC community, you aren't going to get the chance to invest in these companies. There are some options out there like Republic, Start Engine, and a couple other crowdsourced VC platforms that anyone can invest in, but I don't, at the time of making this video, have a great list of metaverse startups that are available on those platforms, so I'm going to leave that out for now. So the way you can invest in these companies is instead by investing your time into learning how to use the tech that they are developing. And this could mean learning how to develop software for a specific headset, such as using Lumen for the Magic Leap 1, or how to create content for an emerging platform like DressX that I actually made a video on a few weeks ago. Most of the time you can do this for free, it just takes time. And this is by far the least sexy way to invest, but if you think of it this way, this category is analogous to learning how to develop mobile apps in 2007 or how to create online video in 2006. It puts you in a great position to capitalize on those skills as the landscape develops, even if it's not as sexy as owning a slice of Amazon or Apple or something. Thanks for sticking around to the end. That is actually all I have for this week. I hope that this video gives you some ideas for capitalizing on the metaverse in 2022? Let me know your plans in the comments, and I will see you next time where we are going over where DeFi and the metaverse converge. I'll see you then. Okay, bye.